Greetings. How are you today? And from which corner of the world are you listening to this voice? Today, we will speak about the influence of thoughts and beliefs on shaping your personal reality, and how, through conscious work with your mind and energy, you can change life's scripts, opening the way to harmony, success, and inner freedom. What if I told you that your destiny is already written, but you are the one holding the pencil to rewrite it? Did you know that every belief you hold is a command to the universe, one it executes without error? In this video, we will reveal how to use the power of the mind to change your future and step beyond limitations. And now, I invite you to walk the path where every thought becomes a key that changes everything. The realization does not come at once, that every moment of life is born not from the whims of fate, but from the delicate threads of your own thoughts. At first, it seems that everything is a string of coincidences, arranged in a chaotic mosaic where we are merely spectators. Yet in the silence, when the outer voices fade, the truth begins to emerge. Every inner image, every emotion, and every belief is the building material for the events to come. A person is accustomed to moving on autopilot, repeating the same words in their mind, reacting to the world just as they did yesterday and the day before. They fail to notice that within them lies an entire workshop, where their thoughts labor in the shadows, assembling reality according to the blueprints of old habits. And if these blueprints are distorted by fear, doubt, or a sense of limitation, then life repeats that pattern over and over again. The first awakening comes when the gaze lingers on these recurring lines, when you suddenly realize that the events in your life do not simply happen, they are designed, and the architect has always been you. The awareness of hidden power arrives like a soft light, which at first frightens with its clarity. It demands honesty with oneself. For to admit that you are responsible for your own scripts means abandoning the comfortable position of the victim. It means ceasing to blame circumstances, other people, or an abstract destiny. From that moment on, the choice changes. Either continue to live according to old blueprints or rewrite them anew. And to do that, you must not simply know about the power of your thoughts. You must feel it in your body, hear it in your heart, and accept it in your mind. The world around you begins to respond differently when you stop being a random spectator. Every encounter, every emotion, even the smallest details of daily life become signals, reminders that reality responds to your inner states. And then you understand, everything ahead begins within. There comes a moment when the knowledge of the power of thought deepens into the understanding that beliefs are not merely inner opinions or familiar phrases in the mind. They become energy that leaves the boundaries of your consciousness, traveling into space like invisible signals. These signals find resonance in the fabric of the universe, bringing to life circumstances that match their frequency. When a person believes the world is dangerous, they begin to encounter events that confirm their fear. When they are certain they are worthy of love, the doors to that love begin to open. Beliefs act as filters of perception. They determine what you notice, what choices you make, and even what coincidences become part of your path. The universe does not distinguish whether you label your belief as positive or negative. It does not argue, it does not judge. It simply responds in full alignment with what you transmit from within. And if your inner space is dominated by a sense of lack, then your external reality will reflect that sensation in every sphere. It is astonishing how many people live without noticing these simple patterns. They believe their life is determined by others' decisions, by the system, or by an unpredictable fate. Yet in truth, destiny follows the inner logic of your beliefs. It is as if each of us holds a map that we ourselves have drawn, and then we wonder why the road leads exactly where it was laid. To begin changing destiny means to begin changing the map. And the first step is to stop treating thoughts as background noise. Every thought, every statement, even one thrown out in irritation, carries weight. They are like seeds. Falling into the soil of the present, they begin to sprout, sometimes slowly, but inevitably. Understanding this can be liberating, but also daunting. For once you realize the power of your beliefs, you can no longer scatter them carelessly without considering the consequences. Here begins a new level of responsibility toward yourself. And within that responsibility lies great freedom, the ability to consciously choose what will grow in your future. There is a moment when you stop seeking explanations outside yourself and turn your gaze inward. Then, the recurring scenes of your life begin to surface, almost identical in form, yet with different faces and settings. These events are like links in a single chain, quietly pulling you back into familiar waters. Within them lies the imprint of your old beliefs, which for years have built invisible walls around your possibilities. Each time someone betrays you, you feel the same pain as years ago. Each time success slips away at the last moment, you hear the echo of an old whisper. This is not for you. Those words may have long been forgotten by the conscious mind, yet they continue to resonate deep within, guiding your choices, reactions, and even moods. To change your future, you must recognize this hidden code. And to do that, you must be ruthlessly honest with yourself. No excuses, no familiar stories about how that's just the way it is. You must view each recurring situation as a mirror reflecting your inner program. It is not easy, because the habit of protecting your own wounds is strong. The mind tries to explain everything through external causes, avoiding the admission that the script lives inside. But step by step, you begin to see the patterns. You realize that recurring disappointments, conflicts, or failures are not the curse of fate, but echoes of unconscious beliefs. The process of uncovering such scripts is like archaeological work. You dig layer by layer, finding fragments of old beliefs that once seemed like truth, and each such discovery frees a little space for the new. Sometimes awareness arrives suddenly, like a flash of light pulling you out of the dark. Sometimes it comes slowly, in the form of a quiet realization that the roots of many problems lie in the same thoughts. But either way, this stage is essential. You cannot rewrite the book until you know what is written on its pages. Once you have recognized your limiting scripts, the moment comes to intervene in their course. The old words you have been accustomed to repeating to yourself, like a stuck record, must give way to a new sound. The inner dialogue is a constant stream of commands that your mind sends deep into the subconscious and further into the space around you. If those commands are filled with doubt and negation, they reinforce the old boundaries. If they carry choice and confidence, they change the direction of your life's movement. You can begin with something simple, replacing phrases. Instead of "I can't," say "I choose to learn." Instead of "I'm always unlucky," say "I am open to new opportunities." These changes may seem small, but they work like adjustments to your inner compass. Every word you speak within yourself corrects the course along which your energy moves. What matters is not only the meaning, but also the tone in which you speak to yourself. Harshness and self-criticism only strengthen inner resistance. Gentle firmness and calmness open space for change. This is not empty self-suggestion. It is a conscious choice of the language with which you build your future. The practice of rewriting the inner dialogue requires consistency. It is not enough to replace a habitual phrase once. The old words will return out of inertia. Attentiveness is essential. Every time you notice the old pattern, you gently but firmly replace it with a new one. Over time, the new phrases become natural. It helps to say them aloud, especially in moments of silence when the words can sink deeper. Writing them down is even more powerful. Recording new affirmations in a journal or on separate sheets you can keep in sight. In this way, the inner dialogue begins to resonate in the outer space as well, reinforcing the new script. Over time, you notice that it is not only your phrases that have changed, but your very thoughts. Your reactions to events become different, infused with a confidence that was not there before. And then it becomes clear. By changing the language with which you speak to yourself, you have rewritten the very structure of your reality. There is a fine edge where the past and the future converge. It is the moment in which you breathe right now. The present is not simply a point between what has already been and what is yet to come. It is a living space of power, where every choice and every inner state instantly lays the foundation for the events ahead. Those who have learned to work with this energy cease to be prisoners of time and begin to direct the course of their lives. Most people live in distraction. Their mind wanders between memories of what can no longer be changed and anxious guesses about a future that has not yet arrived. In doing so, their energy scatters, like water spilled on sand. The present moment remains empty, unused. But when you bring your attention back here, to this very instant, the flow begins to gather, and you feel yourself guiding its direction. The practice begins with the simple act of observing the breath. This is not an escape from the world, but an anchor that keeps you in the point of power. Every conscious inhalation and exhalation becomes a reminder. Right now, it is you who chooses what the next step will be. Awareness in breathing gradually seeps into movements, words, and even glances, making every action purposeful and full. There is no place for haste in this work. The power of the present moment unfolds in slowing down, when you stop rushing toward the result and allow each instant to be complete. Here, inner calm is born, a calm that does not depend on external circumstances. This state becomes the magnet for events that align with your inner harmony. By working with the energy of the present, you begin to sense the connection between your inner state and the world's response. A positive mindset seems to open the channels through which new opportunities arrive. Steady confidence strengthens situations that once seemed fragile. Even difficulties are perceived as elements of the path, not as obstacles. The more often you return to this moment, the less power old scripts and random emotional swings have over you. The present becomes the place of strength from which you build the future, not out of habit, but by your own design. When your inner attention becomes anchored in the present moment, you begin to sense a subtle movement around you, as if the world is breathing in unison with you. This is not imagination or poetic imagery, but the natural response of the universe to the state of your consciousness. Energy currents that once seemed abstract now begin to feel almost physical, like a gentle pressure, like a quiet current filling the space around you. The universe does not respond to empty words, no matter how beautiful. It responds to the frequency you emit. If within you there is tension, distrust, and fear, the flow reacts chaotically, bringing events full of uncertainty. If within you there is calm confidence, gratitude, and openness, the energy begins to arrange itself into harmonious patterns, linking you with people, circumstances, and opportunities that support your path. Meditation here becomes not just a practice for calming the mind, but a tool for tuning. You turn inward, observe your state, clear it of noisy thoughts and unnecessary emotions. In the stillness of the inner space, the frequency of your field evens out, and the flows begin to move freely. It is like a radio receiver, tuned to the right wave, suddenly transmitting a pure and clear sound. Visualization amplifies this process. When you not only think about what you desire but see it within, Feel it in your body and emotions. Your vibrations become more stable. You are, in a way, sending the universe a clear signal. This is my reality, and I am ready to step into it. In response, circumstances begin to arrive that strengthen this vision. The practice of gratitude is another key. It not only anchors your attention on what already exists, but also opens the channels for more. In a state of sincere gratitude, energy flows without resistance, and the current of the universe strengthens, pushing you toward new heights. When you connect to these flows, the sense of isolation in this world disappears. You understand that each of your intentions becomes part of a vast movement, and every conscious thought is a contribution to the grand symphony of life. And then, the world begins to sound different, not like chaos, but like harmony, in which you have your own unique place. Even when you already feel the universe's response and see how circumstances are changing, old shadows may still echo within, fears and doubts. They do not vanish with a single act of will because they have taken deep root, growing into habits, reactions, and inner images. Fear is not an enemy, but a signal that there is a place inside you that you have not yet illuminated with your attention. The first step to liberation is to acknowledge its presence, not to suppress it, not to fight it, but to look straight at it, as if into the eyes of an old acquaintance. When you stop running, fear loses its power. It feeds only on your resistance. The moment you allow yourself to feel it fully, you begin to see its true size, and it is always smaller than it seemed. Doubts act differently. They are quiet, viscous, like a fog that shrouds clarity and slows your step. With them, it is important to work through clarity of intention. Each time doubt arises, you bring your attention back to your goal and ask yourself, what do I choose now, faith or fear? Gradually, the habit of choosing faith becomes natural, and doubts begin to dissolve. Liberation requires inner honesty. You must admit that some fears are carried simply because they are familiar, and the familiar feels safe. Yet it is precisely these familiar chains that hold you in the old reality. Until you decide to break them, the flow of change will slow. Body-based practices help accelerate the process. Conscious breathing, slow movements, and relaxing tense areas return a sense of safety to the body. When the body stops holding traces of old reactions, the mind can let them go more easily. At some point, you notice, what once paralyzed you now evokes only a slight stirring. This is freedom, not the absence of fear, but the ability to move even when it is near without allowing it to control your choice. From this moment, your energy flows without blocks, and the world begins to respond to you with renewed strength. When fears and doubts no longer govern your steps, a space opens before you in which something new can be built. This is no longer a reaction to old scripts, but a conscious choice of direction. A harmonious future does not arise by chance. It is formed from daily intentions, thoughts, and actions you direct in a single course. Creation begins with an image, not an abstract, vague emotional blur, but something clear and detailed. You form an inner picture of the life you desire as if it already exists, seeing yourself in the right circumstances, feeling in your body what it is like to be in that state, hearing the sounds and sensing the scents that fill your reality. These sensations become a beacon guiding you forward, even when the path seems unclear. Each day, you affirm this image through action. These may be small steps, a phone call, a conversation, learning something new, caring for your body and the space around you. What matters is not the scale of the act, but its alignment with your inner direction. Even the smallest gesture, made in a state of confidence, strengthens the foundation of the future. Harmony emerges where the inner and outer align. If your thoughts are full of trust and openness, and your actions match that state, you create an environment in which events unfold with ease. People and circumstances begin to mirror this inner wholeness, as if the world itself seeks to support your path. It is important to remember that a harmonious future does not mean the absence of change or difficulty. It implies the ability to pass through them without losing inner balance. Each challenge is perceived as an opportunity to strengthen the chosen course, not as a threat. Over time, you notice that you live less in anticipation of a better tomorrow and more in the feeling that it is already here, in every decision, in every breath, in every glance at the world. This is the point where the future ceases to be a dream and becomes a natural extension of your present. Creating a harmonious future is only half the journey. The other half is anchoring it so that it becomes your natural norm rather than a temporary state. A new reality requires constant reinforcement because old patterns may still try to draw you back into familiar territory. They will appear in thoughts, in conversations with others, and in unexpected circumstances, as if testing your resolve. Anchoring begins with repeating the practices that brought you here. Conscious presence, working with your inner dialogue, tuning into elevated states, and setting clear intentions must become not the exception, but the daily foundation. Each morning and each evening, you in a sense choose this reality again, filling it with the energy of your attention. It is important to observe what situations and people enter your life. If you notice something pulling you back, do not rush to react. Instead, ask yourself, how does this situation align with the life I am building? This question brings you back to the role of creator rather than a passive participant in events. Anchoring also requires the involvement of the body. Habits in eating, movement, and rest become part of the new reality just as much as thoughts do. The body is the instrument through which the energy of the future flows into the world. When you care for it, it supports your inner state. Relationships also undergo restructuring. The people you interact with either amplify the new frequency or lower it. This does not always mean separation, but it does require conscious choice, deciding who and what you allow to be close. Over time, you begin to notice that the changes are no longer something new. They become the background against which your life unfolds. The new reality no longer demands strenuous effort to maintain. It has become your point of reference, and it is then that you realize the anchoring process is complete, and a new horizon of possibilities opens before you. There comes a moment when you realize there is no road back. Not because someone forbids you to return, but because you can no longer fit into the old confines. Your consciousness has expanded, and your former thoughts feel cramped, like clothing you have outgrown. You see too clearly to live by chance again, and you feel your connection to yourself too deeply to allow randomness to govern your life. The path of no return is not a harsh rejection of the past, but a gentle yet firm acceptance that you have crossed a threshold. Everything that was has become material for the next stage. The past no longer pulls you down. It serves as a support you stand on to move forward. In this state, the power of the mind ceases to be theory and becomes a tool you wield naturally. You no longer wonder how to apply it. You simply live in alignment with it. Thoughts, intentions, energy, and actions merge into a single movement, and this movement needs no proof. Its result is visible in every day you live. Looking back, you understand that all former obstacles were stages of preparation. Fears, doubts, and familiar scripts taught you to discern where you give away your power and where you keep it. Now, when you choose, you do so consciously, without inner struggle. The path of no return is freedom, but not a light-hearted, careless freedom. It is one that demands responsibility for every step. You know you create your reality, not with words or random thoughts, but with a steady inner stance that no longer allows a return to the old. And perhaps the most important thing at this stage is the understanding that there is no final destination ahead. There is only the path, unfolding step by step, revealing new horizons each time. And in this infinity, you feel at home.